What's up, guys? It is Dave, it is Duncan, it is Kyle back from Metal Epidemic for another album review. For this review, Duncan, Kyle and I have been checking out the new album from American sludge band Ether Coven. The band's new album, The Relationship Between the Hammer and the Nail, is out August 5th on Good Fight Music. Okay, gents. So, Ether Coven. Do you remember a little band called Remembering Never?
Yes.
That rings a bell.
Good. You probably remember me chatting about them back in the old college days.
We missed an obvious joke of saying no. Or never. Like never. I can never remember them.
No. I did do a bit of talking about this band way back in the day. Back in the early 2000s, back in the college days. Well, this band is the band that Pete Kowalski of Remember Never created around a couple of years before Remember Never called it a day. Pete was on tour with Remembering Never at the time and ended up having this kind of long conversation about the kind of New Orleans sludge scene and all the bands with another guy called Devin Estep, who was the guitarist in a band that they were on tour with, and kind of there and then they decided to start a band influenced by those bands, but with
just
with their own.
One small editorial correction is New Orleans. Not New Orleans, Dave. Sorry, I mean we go through this all the time. New Orleans.
I'll remember one day.
Yeah, New Orleans.
But until then, if you keep interrupting me, that would be great. They formed in 2010, and this will be Ether Coven's fourth album to date, which follows up the band's 2020 release, Everything is Temporary Except Suffering. The album was written amidst Kowalski's ongoing battle with colon cancer, and is filled with an overwhelming vulnerability centered around despair, loved ones, and the state of the world. Speaking on the lyrics, Kowalski states, "With every release we try to be as explicit as possible. Nothing is up for interpretation, and the goal is to pull emotion out of people that may not experience otherwise, in hopes someone can connect to any of what we do."
Also means 75% of the jokes I was going to use on this review are now useless. Thanks, guys.
Them's the breaks, Duncan. Them's the breaks. The album was produced by Andy Nelson at Bricktop Studios. And the band set out to get the relationship between the hammer and nail sounding as close to their live performance as possible, using actual pedals instead of plugins. And the majority of vocal cuts being first takes, the recording process was able to be completed in just 1 week.
Oh shit!
Yeah, it's been 1 week.
Thank you, Duncan.
Hit start on the record, and then we hit stop. The Chinese chicken, the brain stops sticking. Hope the smoking man's in this one. Right, let's go.
So, it's pretty much as soon as I saw this one come in, I was pretty much all over it. Surprise, surprise. I had heard the band's previous album from 2020, and like, if you hadn't guessed, their particular sound is one that is 100% in my wheelhouse. I have a bit of an affection for these really kind of dissonant sludge bands that just kind of ooze this kind of dark, bleak, pissed off vibe. If you've never heard this band before, they are primarily sludge at their core, but it's doused in a little bit of hardcore. There's some kind of slightly doomier tones in there as well at times. And as much as I enjoyed their last couple of albums, I have to say I think this album is their finest moment so far, for me anyway. If you've listened to the previous stuff, you can hear the kind of evolution in their sound. And even though it's only been a couple of years since the last album, this sounds to be like the most consistent and the most well-rounded album they have done to date. The core elements are still all here. I'll hear the grooves. You've got those big, like, pulverizing riffs, the very, very kind of scorched sounding vocals. There's plenty of variety in the intensity and the rhythm of the album, and a nice mix of kind of different textures and clean tones. It's all in here, but I'd say there's definitely been a push towards a slightly more aggressive tone on this album overall. And the blast beats and the kind of dissonant riffs on that opening track kind of make that abundantly clear. This is a heavy fucking album. The riffs on this release are pretty colossal, to be honest. Very like corrosive and metallic, as you'd expect from a sludge band, but very reminiscent of like kind of part of Conjurer, a little bit of like Arm for Apocalypse in there as well at times. But what I really enjoyed about this particular album is, even though it's their most aggressive, it's not all like violence and aggression the whole way through. They've nicely kind of interjected just enough of their kind of like darker, kind of gloomier side into this album, just enough to balance it out. And I think that is the kind of the main key to this album's success, to be honest. I think having that contrast and the kind of shifting tone just gives the listener a bit more kind of variation across the release. I often, like, when I listen to their previous albums, and it would be like, there'd be moments in the album where I'd be like, right, where are we here? Like, are we on a new song, or have we moved on? Because this is a band that they don't like stick to those like standard kind of 4 or 5 minute tracks. They've always been a band that have played with longer songs that kind of like 10 minutes plus, which worked at times, but sometimes I felt sometimes it was a little bit kind of drawn out and it kind of meandered a little bit. I didn't get that on this release though. Those longer style tracks really worked for me. Tracks like Afraid and Suffering are kind of carefully crafted to keep you engaged the whole time. I love the break into the kind of cleaner, more ambient sections, and then building back into that heaviness, but with a bit of like clean melody on the vocals, or even just kind of pulling back a little bit on the tempo and heaviness on tracks like The Warmth of Your Bathwater. And that track still has its kind of destructive moments, but that kind of doomier, more like kind of melancholic instrumentation and atmosphere really works. It almost as a kind of breather from the intensity. This album also has a number of guests on it as well, which is something they didn't really do on the last album. I think it was down to certain kind of label issues, but this one they've kind of went all out. We've got some additional vocals on 6 of the 7 tracks, including contributions from some of the guys from Integrity, Zao, Pain Ritual, and a few more. There is one band in particular that that I have a bit of a problem with, because I just love them so damn much, and they share similarities with this band. I haven't mentioned them yet because the last track on the album actually features the vocalist of that band. As if it was all meant to be, Mr. Howard Jones, currently of Light the Torch, but obviously previously of Kill Switch, Engage, and one of my favourite bands of all time, Blood
has been
shed.
And I don't know why I said it like that, because they're a great band, but I just felt the need to be condescending in that moment, because Dave's so high on himself. It's like, I called it, I was listening to it, I was like, it kind of feels like we need Howard. Oh wait 1 second, he's on the album. Big Davey called it again.
Well, they've always had a little bit of that sound, a little bit of that influence on previous albums, and you can hear it again on this one. But I thought the fact that like they brought Howard in to finish the album off was, one, not only a stroke of genius, but for fans of Blood Has Been Shed, this is probably the closest thing you'll ever get to hearing Howard do this type of material again. And his voice just suits it down to a T. It's just his vocal, man. I've always said this, and we've said this before, like his voice when he's at his most ferocious is just pure power, like absolute power. And it finishes the album off with that, like, just a emphatic throat punch. It is just like the icing on the cake, that last track. I thoroughly enjoyed this one. Not much to dislike here for me. The only kind of question I had on the album was the instrumental track, Temple of Wu, I think it was called. I thought it was a good track, but I didn't think it was really. I wasn't sure if it was needed, if I'm honest. I thought like the previous track had enough kind of downtime on it. I think it was The Warmth of Your Bathwater was the previous track. So when it came to the instrumental track, I was like, I was like, I don't know if this is maybe misplaced on the album, just in the order of it, possibly. If it had maybe been earlier in the album, maybe we've worked a bit more, but I just felt like coming off of that track, I wasn't sure if the instrumental totally worked. That aside though, thoroughly enjoyed this. Like if you're a fan of sludge or metallic sludge or sludgecore or whatever you want to call it, then yeah, definitely check these guys out. Been a fan for a while, and I think this one is definitely, for me, I think it's their best album to date. What about you guys? What did you think? Were you guys aware of Ether Coven, or is this completely new? Duncan, what did you make of this?
This is my first time checking out the band. Kind of feel like you've been a little bit selfish keeping it all yourself, Dave. I'm honest.
Sorry.
Part of the charm of our friendship is that yes, we don't see each other face to face all that often, but the comms are always there. You know what I mean? There's always I hear a. You know, I look outside, I see a massive banana, and I think of Dave. You know, I'm just like, it just reminds me of Dave.
Because he's such a free fellow.
It's like every time I eat in my like when we hear things that we kind of get the impression the other one would like, we're usually pretty sharp, and I don't know I don't know if it's part of us is like really excited to share a band, or if it's to try and get one over the other one. I know something you like that you've not listened to yet. You get that smugness when you're vindicated and proved right. On this one, you clearly just wanted to keep it to yourself. So
I think I might have reviewed one of their previous albums, actually. Now
Did you send the review to me, Dave?
Well, I mean, we're talking like 8-9 years ago, probably. But I have a feeling I actually reviewed one of their albums.
Clearly, we're closer now than we were then.
Oh, well.
This has so many elements in it that just make me happy. Mostly because, and we mentioned it. We mentioned it a lot specifically when we talk about sludge. Sludge can be a genre which can be a bit repetitive, can lack nuance and diversity between the bands. As in, there's a whole swath of them that you literally couldn't pick out of a line out. Even if they had like the name of their band in front of them, I'm in this band, I was still like, maybe not, maybe. That's an issue. That's an issue. We've said before as well, there's a charm that comes with sludge, knowing that you're going to hear some pretty grimy riffs, but it's going to be groove laden and heavy. And the way I would describe this album is, it's a combination of lifting a big bag of sand, right? You hold that big bag of sand, it's pretty heavy, right? Then every other song is like someone pours water over the sand. It's even fucking heavier, right? And it never gets light. Even the moments where there is an infused element of melody, it never really gets light. And part of that's the production. The production's definitely there, giving it the heft. So even when they go into those sections where the guitar is driving the melody, not even vocally, there are sections here where the guitar's driving whole sections of melody, and the vocals are still, angry, pissed off, snarly, growly, and all the rest. But like that, in a lot of respects, that kind of, and it's not even the levity of the situation, that change of ambience and tone, but and what you're listening to isn't needed. It totally is needed. It is very, very, very well placed. I don't have the same, once again, like, surprise, Duncan doesn't have the same issues on track ordering here as everyone else. Temple Away to me worked fine. I don't think it's the track that isn't from the rest of the album, if you know what I mean, because it's essentially just an instrumental. As part of its interest for me was it was a band doing something different, even if musically it's not too disparate from other things you've heard. It is a different movement, and if you're going to shove an instrumental track in, I don't mind it coming in before arguably one of the heaviest tracks on the release overall. So kind of to me, it's not that it works perfectly, it just didn't not work for me using a double negative. I enjoy. There's some risks taken in a release which will comfortably jump from tracks that are like 3-4 minutes long to like easily over 10 minutes. And that risk is, especially when you listen, the opening track, Sam's of Cancer, when you listen to that, and it's like a standard track length, and you get through it and you get to the end, and then track 2, Afraid and Suffering, kicks in, and we are strapping ourselves in for 10 minutes. the danger is like I've heard that opening track and I've now heard that ferocity and everything they do, and then am I going to get 10 minutes of that? And I'll be honest, on my first listen I panicked a little. That I was like, I don't know if I want to listen to this for 10 minutes. You know what I mean? Like the charm of a 4-minute brutal sludge song is you get everything. You like the catharsis is done by you've catharted hard by the end of it, and then you move on to the next track. And I kind of instantly started feeling a little bit apprehensive, and then the guitar moved into this swath of melody, and I was like, oh no, we're in safe hands. This band is like, it has layers, and that's all I need. And it never really lets up. Like, there's never a section where it kind of feels like they rest on their laurels or the writing gets complacent. Whenever I kind of felt like we were at the tipping point of something, or a style becoming a bit repetitive, or, you know, even to the point where I'm like, well, it felt honestly at the point where I was kind of like, let's move. They were already moving on. And I think that's really smart writing, because once again, in the sludge and the doom realms, playing something over and over and over again is kind of the thing. It's kind of embedded in the genre. It's like if you don't play this riff 45 times in a row, are you even a sludge band? But they don't do that. And that's, once again, not to say that they don't like play with those themes and ideas. Vocally, this is fucking great. I like his brutal tone is like absolutely hellish. I like absolutely loved it. But guy can sing, and like his melody tones. There's a vulnerability in the sins there that I really enjoyed, and it felt endearing and honest and true. And then you get all these little smatterings of guest appearances. And I like, obviously, I'm just gonna say it. The band, I hate SoundCloud, right? Fucking hate it, right? So I had to overcome this, and it's not the band I've put out on the SoundCloud, it's the label that I've shared it was via SoundCloud, this medium to listen to it. But I don't like the interface, so it went on and I didn't, hit start the first song and then just didn't look at the thing again. And then I was kind of like, that last track kicked in, and you know how you hear a voice? And when you hear a voice, you're like, no, fuck off. Like, no. So I straight up, I was like, God damn is. Like, Howard Jones, who has been popping up here, there, and everywhere, doing weird and wonderful things. I kind of love it. Love it, even if I don't love everything he's doing. I kind of love him at the moment. And you are right. This is as close as you're ever really going to get to that, like, snarling ferocity of blood is being shed. And vocally, few vocalists can touch that. It is like, honestly, I get the feeling that if you were maybe even 3 walls away from him and he let out one of those roars, you'd still feel it in your chest. It's just pure power, but it mixes in really well with the track. Like, it totally works. And the contrast, and that's what I got all the way through this, is the album plays with contrast really well. It hits its groove perfectly, but when it starts to play with contrast, I think those moments like shine for me, and it elevates it from the genre that it's in. So whilst this might not even necessarily be the most original or most interesting thing I've ever listened to, it's a really compelling release. It's like really like one of these ones that like I listened to it 3 times on a platform that I hate, which speaks volumes. And like I'm already at that point where I'm like that, right, as soon as I can get my hands on this platform that I do enjoy, I'm gonna listen to it again, like day one release, because there's enough in here that just really captivated me, just really got me in. And you go through like a right roller coaster with this. Moments where like the melody is kind of darkly soothing, and in the next section you feel like your anus is about to prolapse. It's that fucking heavy. So I kind of I really dug this. I really dug this, and now I understand a bit more why you dug about it, because of its backstory. And he's been in the industry for a while now, and he's still churning out stuff like this. Is a fucking testament to just how much he loves the genre.
I was the same when I saw in the press release that there was like so many other like additional vocals. I was like, oh, that's a lot. Like it's only like 7 tracks long, and that's a lot of vocalists. But it wasn't too much at all. I
don't think so.
It benefited it actually.
I also don't think it's going to be detrimental live, which is usually my concern about, like, guest vocalists above anything else are a double-edged sword on albums. The reason behind it is when it comes to live performances, it's very, very difficult to either do those parts because people get vocalists in that sound different to what they sound, or the ability to do something different. So you're either letting the audience do that, never let the audience do it, or you've got it pre-recorded, and then I kind of feel like, what's the point?
Yeah.
And in the case of this one, unless all these guys tour with you, like, so, you know, and this one, I never felt at any point I'm like, well, they're never going to be able to do that live. Like, it's so grounded in what he does vocally that it's never going to be an issue. Yeah. So I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Nice. Kyle, what do you think?
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Excellent, Kyle. That's a great analysis of the album.
Sometimes it's best to leave it there, though, Dave. Hit him for the score. Hit him for the score.
It's Sludge. It's Sludge. Kyle's a big Sludge guy now.
I love Sludge.
Sludge Metal Kyle is what they call him.
That's
Sludge
exactly
Metal Kyle. Yeah. See? Not quite heard Sludge like this before. I mean, I must admit, this is the first time I've heard this band, and I was like pleasantly surprised. It was no idea who they were. I was like, don't know the name, can't get anything out of it. All right, let's give it a listen. On fucking SoundCloud. Enough of that.
It's an old platform, just in case the record label think we're taking shots of them. It's an old platform.
Well, it was the PR company, not the label.
Right. Yeah. The PR company. It's an old platform, right? So all I'm saying is interface isn't great.
No,
but
whatever.
Keep sending us stuff. Keep sending Dave stuff, right? Because I like this. So
yeah, I liked it a lot. Like, that bass tone had me hooked straight away.
Yeah, well, when I heard that, I was like, production-wise, Kyle was going to have a field day with this because it's just it's just au natural. You know what I mean? It's just
absolutely. It's just as soon as I heard it all kicking in, I was like, ha, yeah, this is how metal should sound. Come on. I don't even know who did the production, but I mean, they did it perfectly. It's absolutely, there's no issues here at all, is there? There's just, that guitar tone is fucking monstrous.
Yeah.
It's as big as 2 football fields for our American fans.
Big Andy Nelson.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Andy the Phil Nelson.
I'd like to interview him about this album alone, because it is just massive. Let's do that.
Let's get him on.
It just sounds huge in every way. Even those bits where they bring it down and they're not doing anything, it's like brought down in a massive way. And I'm like, how many guitar tracks do you have? And it's probably 2, but it sounds like 7,000. It's massive.
When the guitar tone changes to clean, you get the feeling that it's an elephant's hoof that's selected the pedal. That's how heavy it is. It's fucking definitive. No.
Yeah. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact they went analog with their guitar tone recording and stuff. They made a point to mention it, that they used guitar pedals and amps and not plugins. I'm like, there is a specific certain type of sound you get with that, and this is it. It's like, there's all digital, can do everything, and it's wonderful, but I mean, it's too clean sometimes, and it's too
the wrong genre to do it in as well. You can't do that with Sludge. As soon as you do it, you just remove the soul. But you remove the soul in the music as soon as you do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just loved all of the production. I kept listening to just that before I even got into the actual songs. I was like, this sounds incredible. Holy crap. Wait, there's some songwriting going on here too, which is incredible. Oh my God. And the tone on that dude, the singer, oh fuck. Like, his brutal tone is unbelievably ferocious and just harsh and hits you right in the belly. And then he's like, oh, by the way, guys, I can sing too. Like, fuck. Really well. Like, he could do in a whole album of just clean singing and it would still blow me away. It's like, with a voice like that, I'm surprised he didn't do it more. No, it's not. He got a bit at the end of track 2, Afraid and Suffering, and then it wasn't until the 5th track I heard more of it. I'm not sure if that's the guest or not, but I mean, what I really picked up, there's more clean singers. Like, just do more of that. It's awesome. Not that I'm saying you do too much brutal or anything like that. It just sounds so good. I didn't have any issues with the placement of Temple of Wu.
The only issue I have is it's missing a tang.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I was like, is this going to be a sneaky bit of hip hop? No. Oh well. But no, the rest of it, and then Howard at the end. Come on, we've already stroked that beast, but I mean, Yeah, that was perfect placement. Save the best for last because that was incredible. That closer, and it's not like it's a super long track or anything. But you can listen. The thing is, it's a 7-track album, which is an EP in track length, but it's an album in actual length. But it's so easy to put on repeat, and it's so easy to just go over again. And the rewarding thing is you can listen to it over and over again and still pick new things and have a kind of a different experience every time because it's just one of those albums. I like how the lyrical content was so emotional and vulnerable. It was nice to hear somebody singing about something real, even though it's a very depressing and horrible subject. It wasn't just like, I fucking hate you and all this stuff all the time. So that's quite a valid thing to sing about. Sometimes it's like, all right, we get it, everybody hates everyone, but this was like something the dude's actually going through, and it was like very
new metal right now is lifting its bag up to his face going, oh.
I love new metal as much as the next guy, but sometimes you just want to be like,
you're not my real dad, Kyle. You're not my real dad.
I might be. Your mum was a bit of a hussy back in the day.
She was. She was indeed. But unless you found a time machine, that ain't happening.
Well, maybe I did in the future. We'll find out.
Find out. Hey, you play your cards right?
Okay. So that lyrical content anyway. No, I totally get what you're saying though, Kyle. I think content like that can also pull a performance out of someone, because he's pulling it from somewhere of quite a deep and dark place.
I think it did.
Yeah,
I really do.
It totally comes across.
Yeah, definitely. You can feel it. Even if you don't know what's been said, it's like, holy shit, you've got something to say. It means something to him, and we can feel that. So I connected with that quite well. Yeah,
for sure. Nice one. So ratings for this new album from Coven. As I said, this is right up my street style wise. I love the sound, I love the aesthetic, I love the kind of organic sound and the production, the delivery, and it's got depth to it as well. It's not just an album that's just kind of sitting on the surface with like, big riffs and all that. There's a lot going on here, different layers, which I really enjoyed. And the fact that I had Howard Jones doing what he does best on the closing track was kind of the icing on the cake, to be honest. I can see myself coming back to this quite a lot. I know what Duncan was saying there. It's not necessarily anything that I haven't heard done before, but it's delivered very powerfully on this album. So I'm going to go quite high in this one, actually, a 4.5 from me on this one. Duncan, what are you thinking?
Marginally below you. I think it's a really compelling listen. I think what they've done is pulled at lots of different strings and managed to bring something in that at no point felt like it was maybe taken one step too far, but at the same time never really never rested on its laurels, got complacent or felt boring. It always had something to keep me in, and it's got great additions and guest performances that don't overshadow anything in it. In fact, they sound very much like the tracks were written with those people in mind, which with the names I've got in here is not easy to do. I think this is one that may come up in grades by the end of the year when I come back to it. It's definitely one I'll be listening to as soon as it is out. So a lot of interest for this, and apparently a healthy back catalogue that I can go away and check out now, which is always good.
So what was your score?
4.
Excellent. Okay.
Marginally lower than you did.
I wasn't sure how marginal you were going there.
4.
Excellent. Kyle?
I'm going to join Mr. Duncan on this one. 4 out of 5, definitely. It's my first listen, but very impressed. So I'm going to definitely go back through the back catalogue, especially if that bass tone's the same, because fuck me. The
albums before are probably a bit raw in production.
Don't say that to him. You fucking skeet everywhere, man. Look at him.
This is raw, but it's got a bit of polish to it, even though it's like it is very kind of raw and organic. The other ones were just kind of raw. Ether Coven, the relationship between the hammer and the nail, out August 5th on Good Fight Music. Links below to the band, their Bandcamp. Check it out, let us know what you think. Comments below. That is the review. Thank you for checking it out, much appreciated. We'll be back with another review very soon, but until then, take care. Speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.